I don't think I have anything to compare to that other than the stuff that I know I shouldn't be saying on the podcast. So
I have a lot of those stories. I'm trying to think of podcast-friendly ones.
Is there such a thing for a Vegas podcast-friendly story?
Yeah, maybe this wasn't a good topic.
Yeah.
You can't tell any of the good ones.
Hello, my friends.
Thank you for joining us for the PEBCAK Podcast, a weekly information security show featuring some all-around good people. It is week 25 of 2022. I'm Chris Louie, and congratulations to the Golden State Warriors who captured their 4th NBA championship over the last 8 years. Also, happy National Hike with a Geek Day. All our listeners are or know someone who self-identifies as a geek, so please invite one or invite someone to take a hike today. With me, I do not have Brian here this week, as he is taking some much-needed and much-deserved time off, and we wish him and Corin well celebrating their wedding anniversary. Needless to say, there have been some hilarious messages in our group chat this week. Who we do have is Glenn Medina, who managed to dodge both the COVID and monkeypox after RSA. Glenn, what is your secret?
Hey everyone, welcome back. Happy to be here for this episode. I don't know how I was able to avoid getting the vid, but I can tell you that I used Tito's vodka as hand sanitizer and mouthwash everywhere I went. I'm just kidding. Anyways, totally excited for this next week, guys. I want to put this out there that I think both my co-hosts for next week will be in Vegas, and I will be in London for InfoSec 2022. So if you're listening from the UK, come visit me. I'll be at booth T68.
Sounds good. This week, our guest is Marcus Andrews, someone I've wanted to get on the show for quite a long time, and the stars aligned, and here you are. Marcus, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, Chris. Did you know that we've been friends for about 15 years? You and I met through Grace, hit it off pretty quick, and, we became friends, and our bromance has been blossoming ever since.
Yeah, that is true.
I've worked in customer service, security, and most jobs in IT, so I consider myself a jack of all trades or a master of none, or as my mom would like to say, a multi-talented individual.
And a multi-talented individual you are.
So is there a good storyline then? Hold on, is there a good storyline behind there with you knowing Chris for 15 years now? You got to give us a scoop here. What's the inside scoop on Chris?
I met Chris through Grace. Grace and I were really good friends, and then when they started dating, and Chris and I just had a lot in common. Somehow we started dancing through San Francisco holding pinkies, and,
Oh, that's a thought. That's an
oh, yeah.
I think there's actually a picture of that. I think Grace took a picture
There's
of that.
definitely a picture
dig that
somewhere.
one up.
Nice.
Well, yeah, the running joke was that I would move into a house near Marcus's and we would use a cantenna to share Wi-Fi. Unfortunately, that never came to fruition, but we did at one point have an IPsec tunnel connecting our two home networks together. And I remember visiting him, and I had to go grab a file off my file share at home, and I just typed in the IP address of my server at home to grab the file without the need for any kind of VPN. So yes, we really geeked out over our tech, much to the displeasure of our wives.
That's really trusting.
Combined, we have decades of information security experience and are here not just to educate, but to entertain. We've got 4 awesome stories for you this week, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. As I mentioned at the top of the show, today is National Hike with a Geek Day, which is to promote healthy activity in people who otherwise work in sedentary jobs throughout the year, such as IT professionals, accountants, and the like. So go out there and get active.
So today's the day you can go, hey, go take a hike.
Yeah, literally, go take a hike.
Literally, yeah. All right.
Yeah,
Marcus,
go tell your
did you
boss
take a hike?
I will this weekend. I'm trying to get to the lake for Father's Day, but we'll see.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, happy Father's Day to all our listeners. Yeah, this episode will come out the day after Father's Day. We have a new segment on the show. We're going to call it Closing the Loop for now, where we've had follow-ups to past stories, but not warranting their own segment. So the first story is going to be on RSA 2022. Jack Resider from Darknet Diaries on Twitter said, I went to RSA once. The overall takeaway I got was all the talk seemed to say, we're all so screwed. But the vendors seemed to be saying, unless you use our product, and he was left wondering, which is it? We can't have both. So I thought that was a very humorous take on RSA, which is actually pretty true if you go to the talks there and visit the vendor booths there. The next piece of closing the loop is the NSO Group. So the spyware maker, the company that makes the Pegasus spyware, they're in talks to be acquired by L3 Harris, which is a U.S. defense contractor, which is, at least to me, extremely weird because they are on the U.S. Treasury's sanctions list. So maybe they hope if they're U.S. owned, they can be removed. Something definitely smells funny here.
Yeah, that is weird, right? But I think that's just like the deal with, was it Hawk10 with Broadcom buying, was it, what was that chip
Brocade?
manufacturer? No, it was not Brocade. Qualcomm, right?
Qualcomm, yeah.
Qualcomm, yeah. Where
it was
the
blocked on
past
national
president,
defense grounds.
Yeah, and then, I think he made Broadcom a U.S. company by putting the headquarters here in Sunnyvale, or in San Jose, and then they allowed the purchase of, was it Symantec, and then now some other new companies along the way as well. So don't know if that's related, but interesting nonetheless.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a means of laundering, because NSO software is good. Like, it's known as the best spyware out there. That's why every oppressive regime wants to get their hands on it. It's just Israel's export controls now prohibit them because they got caught spying on political dissidents and journalists. So, well, time will tell. We'll see if they use it for lawful surveillance purposes or if this is going to get out of hand again. All right, for our opening topic, Marcus, you have over a decade of IT admin experience, and before that, you worked in private security. And I distinctly remember one story you told me which involved an all-hands team lunch, followed by missing emails on people's phones. A story broke just this week that cryptocurrency exchange Coinbase is laying off 1,100 employees, or about 18% of its staff, in preparation for what they're calling a, quote, crypto winter. Those 1,100 employees completely lost access to emails, file shares, VPN, and the like, even before they were notified that they were laid off. The company had to send layoff emails using personal email addresses. The justification Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong gave was that the stakes were just too high to allow people continued access to corporate resources during this lame duck period after the employees knew they were being let go and before their access was terminated. Brian Armstrong goes on to say, and I quote, I realize that removal of access will feel sudden and unexpected, and this is not the experience I wanted for you. Given the number of employees who have access to sensitive customer information, it was, unfortunately, the only practical choice to ensure not even a single person made a rash decision that harmed the business or themselves. On the one hand, this was a big scumbag move to cut off people's access without talking to them first, but on the other hand, I agree with Brian Armstrong that the stakes are extremely high with a crypto exchange. So was this the right move or the wrong move?
In my experience, when it happened to us, we had acquired a company, and management told me at 12:30 on the dot, we're going to take everybody to lunch. We're going to inform them that they're no longer with the company, cut off their access. Well, what they had failed to pay attention to was that one of their managers was not at that lunch. So when I cut their access, I got a call from that manager saying, was I just fired? So put me in a very awkward position because I was doing what I was told to and hoping that management kind of had a grasp on what they needed to do to inform their employees.
It's a trying time indeed, right? I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to this. If you look at it from both sides, the company is just trying to protect its assets. But from the human side of it, it is a scumbag move. Who likes to get fired? And especially when you talk to the tune of 1,100 employees, no one's ever happy about that, you know, in times like this when gas is closing in on $7 a gallon here in California. Thank you, somebody in politics, for doing that. Yeah, it's not a fun time for anybody.
And I think the other mistake they made for your situation, Marcus, was that they not telling the employees, and then also, why was that the guy's first? I thought, like, if my email was cut off, I would just say, did the server go down, or did you reset my password? Like, that usually isn't my go-to moves. Like, did I just get let go? Unless they might have seen it coming. Like, I'm guessing people at Coinbase could kind of see it coming, because right now in tech there's huge layoffs right now. But that's usually not my go-to move when something breaks.
Yeah, do you guys get nervous? Do you guys like cringe when you type in your password to, like Okta or, or just some application, and you're like, I just got blocked, or my account says it's locked. What happened? So you wonder if, like, did I just get laid off? So, not that it's ever happened to me.
I don't. I've never had that mind frame, but I've had a number of employees where they're either fat fingering their password or something has prohibited them to be able to log in, and they immediately go to "Am I fired?" So that's not a new experience for me. I have a handful of users that's their go-to move.
Yeah, but when you type in your password a couple times, you're like, I know this is the password. Why is it not working? What's going on? And it's like, it can't be that bad. I can't type it in multiple times and say that it's not right. So
yeah, and then you get locked out and you have to call IT to reset it.
Yeah. Do you guys know anyone that, like, got fired and then did something malicious? Have you ever heard of that instance?
I had a user who was let go and had decided to send an email to everyone in the company. Luckily, he did not have access to send an email to everybody in the company, and it was very
he
interesting.
Tried to. Yeah.
Oh yeah. The choice words, that was not very professional. I luckily, knock on wood, it hasn't happened yet, but I'm sure it will happen.
I've heard stories of some folks, like, deleting file servers, and I'm like, that's all on backup. Like, what are you really doing? And not only that, that's very malicious in intent, and you should go to jail for that one. That's
there's
really
logs
bad.
of everything. Everything's logged nowadays. How do people think they can get away with it? Like,
Yeah.
I've heard stories of logic bombs. Like, as soon as my record is removed from the HR system, then launch this attack. Like, I've heard of logic bombs like that. I've never, thankfully, knock on wood again, haven't personally had to deal with that. Most of the employees that have been let go have gone gracefully, and the access was restricted and then terminated at the right time.
Yeah. So yeah, Chris, I feel sorry for the 18% of the folks from Coinbase, and along with anyone else that may have lost their job. But what do you think their service was? Was it a good one? Was it like 25,000 Bitcoins at a depreciated value?
Oh, their severance. I don't know. Yeah, I've heard of companies like saying they're going to pay people in crypto, and that'd be funny if they did give people severance in crypto. Like, what am I going to do with these? Like, itchy and scratchy dollars. Like, I can't buy food with this. But yeah, I don't know. I guess the right move would be you would have enough technical controls in place to account for malicious insiders. You would have things like DLP to prevent exfiltration. You would have the correct admin access that no one can just RMRF a server. You would hope those things are in place, but you just never know.
Yeah, it's good. We talk about it all the time, right? It's as good as the mousetrap that you build, but there's always a mouse that's going to get through.
Having represented a number of smaller companies, they don't have the IT staff to put that in place. They have just the know-how to put a desktop or sometimes a server on the network and create a file share, and there's sometimes a backup or sometimes a password policy, but past that, I would say a lot of small businesses don't really have good policies or procedures in place for stuff like that.
Yeah, small business I could definitely see. Like Coinbase, like I expect them to do better, but small business, I totally get that admins, they might even share passwords. They might do the thing where they write the password on a post-it and put it under the keyboard. So yeah, that I can totally see. But a company like Coinbase, like they've been targeted with but with 0-day attacks. Like they were targeted with 2 Firefox 0 days a number of months ago. It might have been last year. And that's usually nation state level stuff. Like that, this could have been North Korea trying to steal some crypto. So I would think and hope that Coinbase has enough, they have enough technical controls in place to hopefully stop a malicious insider. Because this is on a bad day. You know, what if this is on a good day and somebody tries to turn someone?
Yeah, I was talking to one of the former colleagues last night when his wife worked for a travel agency, and they went through a massive layoff in the middle of COVID because no one was really traveling, and she had to lay off a bunch of people, and then at the end they informed her that she was getting laid off, and I was like, that is really low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, have you do the dirty work, and then that's not how I would treat my employees. I'll leave it at that. All right, for our first topic on the podcast here, we typically try to avoid mainstream stories that already get enough media coverage, but this story just kept appearing in my feed over and over again, so I thought it was worth talking about on the podcast. Google has an AI-powered chatbot called Lambda, and it's been training itself on data sets from all of Google. One of their engineers, Blake Lemone, thought it would be a good idea to go to the newspaper, The Washington Post, which happens to be owned by Jeff Bezos, who founded Google's rival Amazon, and leak a story that Google's Lambda AI has become sentient because the chatbot told Blake that it was afraid of death and being shut off. Oh, the tech press went wild with this, and comparisons to Skynet were inevitable. Lemone's story does not provide enough evidence to make the case that the AI is conscious in any way. Just because something can generate sentences on a topic, it doesn't signify sentience. Given enough time and resources, I myself could program a chatbot that could beat the Turing test, because the Turing test is meant to find out if a machine is self-aware, but if you game the system, you can achieve the result you want without actually making a self-aware AI, and that's exactly what happened here. The chatbot said what it was programmed to say based on what it's learned, and it's not actually self-aware and afraid of death. Did you guys catch this story in the news reel this week?
I did not, but AI is an interesting thing, right? It's at what point can it start making its own decisions based off of whatever algorithm it has to process. I don't think we're far. I mean, I'm reading a book by Jack Carr. It's the fourth in this series. Is a former SEAL team guy, and one of the things that they've done is they've created this. He has to interact with an AI platform that's able to make decisions and whatnot, and has progressively learned. It's using a quantum computer, which it's way far my realm of experience or expertise, but if you hear him talking about it, it seems like it's can't be too far away from reality. So I don't know, Marcus, what do you think?
I'm dealing with, our internal systems and security and whatnot. Everywhere you go, the buzzwords are AI and machine learning. And I totally understand those concepts. What I am not sure, and I don't have a ton of experience in, is if there are self-aware or self-AI capabilities that are able to get to that level. I know they can teach themselves how to play games. I know Tesla has a very awesome setup with their automated driving, but past very strict use cases where you're telling it how to do something, I don't know how advanced it is. That's just not an area that I'm familiar with either.
Yeah. Have you guys ever used the Tesla self-driving?
I actually just got the full self-driving for city streets, and it's as good as the original self-driving on the freeway was. It still makes some mistakes. It's not as smooth as you would want it to be, but I know it's going to get better. Just like the autopilot on the freeway has gotten significantly better, I know the autopilot on city streets is also going to get significantly better.
Yeah, and I say that because the other day I was driving my father's Tesla, and I had it on autopilot, and it went from 5 lanes or 4 lanes down to 3, down to 2, and it went from really nice lanes on the freeway to construction zone, and not only the construction zone, but it was kind of this gradual 60-degree turn. And I about just freaked out, and it was like, holy cow, I'm going to die because I'm heading into this semi. So I had to grab the wheel, and then it turned itself off, right? And as you know, if you jerk hard enough, the autopilot turns off. So I'm still at that. I'm leery, but I get it, how it's going to get better. But man, I can see why people were dying, because they totally had faith in that technology, and it's like, not yet.
Yeah, well, those are those people that thought it was literally autopilot, that you could like take a nap in the backseat. I'm like, no, it's not literally autopilot. You still have to be aware. You have to grab the wheel, because yes, there are instances where the autopilot won't know what to do or will do the wrong thing. But yeah, I mean, we'll get there eventually. But it's usually those people that truly think it's an autopilot that get into trouble.
Yeah, but that's what this goes into, right? It's this whole thought that, I guess, if you look at it from an AI standpoint, it's a loop, right? It's how many times can you do this decision tree, make it learn that, like us, human beings, right? We stick our hand close to a fire, it gets hot, you pull it away, and then you still go do it again. At how many loops do you go, you know what, don't stick your hand in the fire, right? And that's what you've got to train your AI to do.
Just advanced pattern recognition.
Yeah, yeah.
You guys ever deal with chatbots, like when you're talking to like Amazon or one of those services, and they always make you talk to the chatbot first? Like, have you guys found out a trick to get a human instead?
Yes. You know what you type?
Human?
Operator. Yeah. Operator.
Yeah,
human.
operator.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had to do an an RMA on Amazon recently, and within the chatbot was able to process an RMA in under a minute. Something that had I had to call into Amazon and talk to the tech and explain what we were looking for, it would have taken substantially longer. I was pleasantly surprised at how fast this chatbot was able to go through the process of sending me out a replacement part. So, no, I had nothing but good experience with it.
Yeah. That works when they give you a bucket of things that you go, and there's that other, because when I call in, it's always the other that is like, none of the 10 choices or the 20 choices you gave me fit the description of what I'm trying to accomplish. Other. There is no other. You have to try and hit one of those buckets.
No, trying to call into these.
Yeah.
I was going to say, trying to call into these telecom companies where they want you to speak into the automated system, and it wants you to default to restarting your cable modem first or do certain things. I get instantly angry because I'm a little more advanced than that, and if I'm calling in, I'm having real issues, and restarting my cable modem is not going to fix the issue.
Yeah. It's like, you don't think I've tried that already, dummy?
I just go, yes, I did it. Okay. Can you wait 30 seconds? Yes, I did it. It's still not working. So
yeah, so chatbots, like Glenn said, it's good if it's something straightforward, but yeah, like you said, when I have to call in, it's because I can't do it, automatically or through the website. It's some weird corner case that says, yes, I tried it through the website. The website's throwing an error. It won't do it. I need to get a person on the phone to do this. It's usually that. And then when you call in, it goes to the automated tree. Oh, go to our website. Oh, you can text chat with us now. Do you want to give that a try? No. Operator. And then finally, after enough of the phone tree, you finally get a live person that can fix your problem in like 10 seconds. For my trick on how to get a person on the phone, so if human or operator doesn't work, I usually ask, when's the last time you ate a good steak? And that usually confuses the chatbot and has to kick me over to a human. Or I say, is that music I hear in the background? And I think that confuses the chatbot too. But maybe they'll be smart enough to be able to answer that someday.
yeah, I like operator. I mean, I just keep typing operator, and Venture says, it sounds like you need an operator.
Like, yeah, no kidding.
I've had systems where no matter how many times you press 0 or say operator, they continue to want clarification on what department you want. And at this point, I'm frustrated enough to call in, and I do get violently loud when talking to an automated telecom system.
Yeah, it's that fine knife edge you gotta balance on.
The good ones that come out of that is, we'll connect you to an operator. The hold time is 6 hours. You're
Yeah.
like, what the heck?
That's the worst. All right, for our second topic, this will be our InfoSec Twitter story of the week. A user on Twitter posted the following message. Got an email from my job saying all employees get a $30 gas card to alleviate high gas prices because we are required to drive clients around. Why, when I went to sign up, it sent me another email saying that I was phished by my tech department as a tester and then got assigned training. So the general consensus on InfoSec Twitter is that this was a scumbag move on the company's part. I see their point that you're preying on a serious issue. People do not have enough money for gas since the price has shot up this year and people in Los Angeles are paying over $9 a gallon. But on the other hand, you know that saying that all is fair in love and war, cyber adversaries will also be brutal and not honor such rules, so your red team should employ similar tactics to social engineer people into clicking bad links or opening malicious attachments. I think we need to find some kind of middle ground here. People will get tired of this shaming and inevitably move on. Maybe that's better education and proper security, which might go a long way.
You know, we've been hit with this as well. We use an automated phish training simulation setup, and it was requested that we remove HR and IT related content because it was upsetting the users. There were a couple of automated emails that went out to the effect of you are no longer with the company. And
Oh, wow.
the head of HR was not appreciative of that. My boss's response was, the bad guys are going to do the same thing.
Yep.
It's not, we're just doing what the industry is doing. And in the long run, while we both think that it should have stayed, we were kind of overruled on that one. And at this point, I believe most of our users aren't going to trust any email they get anymore, which is kind of the effect we're going for. So,
Yep. Trust but
Yeah.
verify.
yeah.
I have a really good story. I just talked about this with my wife, and this had a very proud husband moment at this time. And not to say that, like I said, my wife seems to surprise me every time we talk. But she was going to some training, and in that training, she was trying to get signed up, and they told her that she had a bad password, and she needed to get, she had to go back to administration and do a password reset, which seemed to be a lot more difficult than anything else. So she went to her manager and she said, "Hey, I'm trying to get into this system, but it's telling me that only administrators had to set me up prior to this before I can sign up." And she said, then they told her, "Well, didn't you click on the link that we told you in email and go reset your password?" And she goes, "I saw it, and I'll be honest with you, it didn't look official, so I just deleted it. Just like my husband tells me to do every time that I don't know where an email comes from." Kudos to her, right? And
Round of applause. Yep.
yeah, a round of applause. And they're like, "No, you're supposed to click on that." And my wife says, "No, unless you tell me I should click on that, like in my face, I will not click on any email." So good for her. And like I said, she's a great candidate now to hopefully a good person that will never, or hopefully not, have a higher rate of not getting phished. So I appreciate what she's told me.
Yeah, good for her. Well done.
It's a good husband right there.
Was that a phishing test, or was that actually the correct email and she was just paranoid?
It was the correct email. They went after her like for 3 weeks in a row, telling her, well, because I guess they had changed their training program and they wanted all the trainers to reset their passwords. The problem is, though, I think we do this, at Zscaler you did that, and I think even at, my current employment, right, is like, hey, we're changing the system. There's usually an email that comes internally from the manager that tells everyone, hey, we're changing systems. Go ahead and trust this email, right? That's the appropriate way to do it. Not just get this email from a third party that says, hey, you need to change your password because we're changing the training program. That's phish all day long in my definition of things.
Yeah, exactly.
How about you, Chris? Does Grace like to click on stuff? Is she click happy?
No, I think I've trained her enough that she should not be click happy. And ever since I was put in charge of IT security for the Louis household, like, she hasn't gotten any of those someone stole your password. She hasn't gotten any of those someone stole your credit card emails. So good. I think hopefully I'm doing a good job in fortifying the Louis household here.
That's awesome.
I'm going to send a flash drive to your house and see if she pops it in the computer.
Plugs it in. I think the other story was one that you told us, Glenn, about.
Oh, no, I know so the one phishing training that we used to have at Blue Coat was they would send this email out and we would click on the link, but we would run it through the sandbox. Yeah. And then we would come up on a report and says, hey, Glenn Medina clicked on this and some other SEs. See, look how many SEs we caught, doing this. And what they didn't realize is we were clicking on it, but we were clicking on it in a sandboxed environment, trying to figure out if it was real phish, so that way we could tell,
warn everyone else. Yeah.
Warn everyone else. So, yeah. And so they went back, our SE leader went back to the CISO group and said, listen, you didn't catch these guys, so you could take them off your list. They were actually looking to see if you guys were, if it was legitimate or not.
Yeah, I think that was where I was wanted to go, was just because someone clicked on a link, it doesn't necessarily mean that they've been phished. It's if they type in their username and password, it's at that point usually that you can consider them successfully compromised. Like, just clicking on a link. I know, like, all the training says don't click on the link because it could be a drive-by download, it could be a browser exploit, but I mean I think the real test is, does somebody type in their username and password?
Yeah. And I'm one for never using my real username and password. Like, if I go to Panera, Starbucks, McDonald's, and it says, hey, please type in your username and password, it's joe@aol.com. So joe@aol.com, if that's your email, I want to let you know right now, it's me.
He's getting bombarded.
Yeah, you're getting bombarded by me. So
my similar story is the security questions it asked you. None of my security questions are accurate. So if you're trying to find out where I went in first grade, you'll never know.
Yeah.
The problem is when it comes time to reset, you're like, oh, wait, what did I put for that one? Unless you know it and you use it consistently.
Yeah, if you always put December 25th, 1941.
All right, for our third topic, Apple demonstrated technology at their annual Worldwide Developer Conference called Private Access Tokens, or PATs. And this could potentially kill the CAPTCHAs once and for all. So those CAPTCHAs are those annoying things like, are you a robot? And they make you click on all the signals or click on all the trees or click on all the bridges. Very annoying, and it gets in the way of your normal workflow, but it's needed to stop these bots. These private access tokens require a device to communicate with an attestation server, and its entire solution has privacy built in and will stop those annoying "Are you a robot?" prompts. A device will send information to the attestation server, such as hardware information, device posture, time since last unlock, and ensuring a digitally signed application is in the foreground of the device. The attestation tokens are single use and prevent replay attacks. CAPTCHAs are used to prevent things like click farms or robots from performing automated actions like signing up for accounts, or being used for click fraud, review bombing, and the like. I really like this idea, and I hope it gains traction so I never have to read another CAPTCHA again. But right now it's only restricted to Apple devices, so iPhones, iPads, and Macs running the latest operating system. So sorry, Windows and Android users.
You don't see the problem with that though, Chris? The idea that they have information or bits of information of your device. being sent, even though it could only be used once.
So the privacy piece of it and the tech on the I actually reviewed the technical side of it. It's they in true Apple fashion, they did it in a way that really protects privacy. So they have separation of duties, like the attestation server doesn't know where you're going, and the server that knows where you're going, all they know is you have an approved attestation ticket. They don't know anything about your device. So each party knows something, but the two parties never talk to each other directly.
That would be similar to like an Apple Card and Apple Payments, correct?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, or like, they have, the hide my email, they have the iCloud Tor network. They have all these privacy things built in, so it's to prevent anyone from tracking you.
And do you think this is going to be used by other companies as well? Because, for the most part, all the captures are related to the fact that, it's happening on Google, right? It's sensing something and the captures are associated with that. But that's where I've always been caught, right? Is coming through some type of proxy or some type of multi-service like a Proton VPN, where it's seeing a bunch of inquiries from a single source IP, right? That's where that's really coming from.
I mean, even like signing up for Panera, like if you sign up for a Panera Rewards account, like, yes, you are definitely going to get hit by a CAPTCHA. And that's only because they don't want people gaming the system and automatically creating and generating these accounts. So usually account creation or suspicious activity, like you said, will trigger one of these CAPTCHAs. If
it works, and they could do it without really letting on that anyone's got their information. But lo and behold, CAPTCHA server at Apple gets hacked. Thousands and millions and petabytes of information have been released containing personal information of users. Not to say that's not impossible or possible.
Well, hopefully they're
Maybe
like Cloudflare. They have like a 24-hour log policy. After 24 hours, the logs are automatically purged.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, Cloudflare is participating in this Apple CAPTCHA program. They're one of the world's largest CDNs. Cloudflare was also known for CAPTCHA every single Tor browser request, which really annoyed the Tor people. But yeah. Cloudflare was like, oh, it's ripe for abuse. Like, oh, not really. It's really annoying that Tor users have to CAPTCHA everything that's behind Cloudflare.
Yeah, I'm probably more inclined to trust what Apple's doing, simply because of the things that they have. The Hide My IP, I think is really cool. I think that's a great feature for making sure that no one can track you from that standpoint. I haven't taken advantage of the email, the secondary email that you could use. I don't know if you guys have done that, but I guess along the lines of, if they're doing it for a good cause, I guess I can get behind that.
Yeah, and Apple's not an ad company. I think that's the strongest argument for me on why I should trust Apple. Apple is not an advertising company. Now, they can make money selling ads like in the App Store, but they are not an advertising company like a Google or an Amazon or a Facebook. They don't need to make money selling your information. They make enough money selling iPhones.
Yeah. And trust me, I think I have enough Apple products in my household right now. It's just ridiculous.
And that's where the Apple tax goes. They don't have to sell your information because you pay the Apple tax.
That's it.
Mark, do you use the private relay or hide my email, any of the new security features added in iOS 15?
I haven't used it much. I've used it some, but not a ton of experience there. I like the idea behind it, because I do believe with the systems being separate and the tokens hitting one spot to another, that's awesome. But dealing with MFA and constantly having to have my phone on me for everything, I have for text or push alerts or putting in that key, it's just another reason why I have to have my phone on me. And I've noticed I've had phone fatigue where I just want to leave it in the other room or not take it with me. But it's just not that CAPTCHA is a huge deal, but just another reason why I have to have my phone with me at all times.
Or get an Apple Watch and have your phone in range, or get the cellular Apple Watch.
Yeah, but with the phone fatigue, now I'm having. I do have
Watch
the
fatigue.
cellular Apple Watch, but I got the device fatigue. I just want to unplug. And
That's
I've
fair.
somehow paid that Apple tax. When I look at how many iPads and iPhones and Apple Watches and MacBooks that are in my house, it wasn't. I'm not a Mac guy. I'm not an Apple guy, but it happened, and I guess I am.
Yeah, I'm with you on the equipment fatigue, the monitor fatigue. At some point in time, I try to make between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. Sacred time where I'm not on there, especially with dinner with the family and conversing. I'll be honest with you. I used to be at this point where the phone had to be with me all the time, and it's just a nuisance when you just sit down at dinner and someone wants to call you because something's going on, or there's operationally something's happening, and I'm just at that point now where like someone else needs to get this. I'm not going to do this anymore. So
For sure. And then with
family
my
time's
daughter
more valuable.
Yeah.
With my daughter and my nieces, we have no phone time where the phones have to be put away, and just seeing them be creative without playing on their phone or scrolling YouTube or doing whatever 12-year-old girls do on their phones has been, it's kind of fun to see that on the other side, kind of back when we were kids, pre-phones and pre-Netflix and pre-YouTube, kind of having to go outside and ride a bike or ride a skateboard kind of thing.
Yeah, we had to make our own fun.
Yeah.
I tell you what, in 5 years when I hopefully plan to retire and have Mr. Elastic, Chris Louie here with me, and Brian Deach, I think the thought is I'm going to go sell beach chairs or rent beach chairs, and just rent them for about $5 a day, and just sit there and then count the beach chairs at the beginning of the day, count the beach chairs at the end of the day, and go, thank you guys very much. Flip phone if I have one, but my kids will know where to get a hold of me.
Yeah.
Chris, do you remember
Living the
what you
life.
said you'd do once you retire?
I've said a lot of things. Was it I'm going to be a barista at Starbucks? Was that it? I don't remember exactly.
No,
That
you
sounds
told
work. Sounds like a lot of work.
Chris told me he was going to be that guy who drives your car after the car wash.
Oh,
Yeah, I remember that.
because
That-
even the guy that checks out receipts at Costco,
At Costco,
or Sam's Club, that seems too much. I gotta count. I want to count.
You got to count beach chairs.
Yeah. I want to be the guy that's standing next to the AC system or the water system at Costco that everyone avoids. Like, hey, I'm still here. You can come talk to me anytime you want. But like I said, if you want to, you'll talk to me. If you're not, then keep going by like the rest of the world does. And I'll still collect a check. So
So you still want a quota after you retire.
yeah.
I had this idea that it started with Vegas, but when I was in California at the beach last week, it kind of solidified it. You have those folks on the beach who go by and they're trying to sell you drinks or umbrellas or whatever beach stuff is there. Nobody ever has sunscreen. So
It's true.
my retirement plan is I will be that guy on the strip selling sunscreen here in Las Vegas, because I'll drive down the strip in the middle of summer and you'll see all these people who are bright red
Beet
or
red.
pink for being out in the sun for too long.
There you go.
$1 million idea right there.
That's it. I'll just bring the two guys with spray bottles and just spray people down.
We'll be a duo. I'll have the sunscreen, you'll have the spray.
There you go.
There you go. Partners. All right, for our last topic, and it'll be a rotating topic every week. This week, we're going to talk about funny Las Vegas stories. Now, Marcus, you've lived in Las Vegas for a very long time. You've also worked in private security. I'm guessing you've seen some things. Brian, a few weeks ago, said he saw someone climb up a street light pole and then fall to his death. I personally have not seen much crazy stuff when I've been to Vegas. The usual people peeing in the street or peeing in the Caesars fountain. That's table stakes for Vegas. But there was one time, and this was at Black Hat DEF CON in 2019, and I met up with an old coworker out there, and we went to a pool party with a few of his coworkers. This was at a night pool party. And his coworkers there were in their early 20s, so total party types, and we hung out all night. There was one guy in the group talking about his fiance and his upcoming wedding, which was fine, but later that night, we all parted ways, and my buddy and I hit the blackjack table, and we probably ended our session around 4 a.m. or so. And I was walking back to my hotel room, and I spot my buddy's coworker with his arm around a girl, and he was hugging and kissing. And then I text my buddy, and I ask if this guy's fiance is out there with him in Vegas, and he says no. So my buddy asked his coworker about it the next day, and he pulled the whole Shaggy defense. He's like, nope, that wasn't me. Nope, it wasn't me. But I 100% know it was him because he was wearing a very distinct necklace and a very distinct pair of shoes. So I definitely knew it was him. And that is why, if my sources are correct, they moved VMworld from Las Vegas to San Francisco because the legal department got tired of handling all the divorces and shenanigans that come with hosting salespeople in Las Vegas.
Wait, but hold on. Didn't Oracle change their conference from San Francisco to Vegas because all the nastiness that happens in San Francisco right now? Or in the past?
Different problem.
Yeah, that's a different issue. It's peeing and pooping, but not from the different.
So Oracle weighed a decision. They had a pro and a con column, and the pros or the potential cons of Vegas outweighed the cons of keeping it in San Francisco. So we'll put it that way.
Yeah. I hear urban legends. I've heard of stories where, people go there for conferences and then, they rack up their credit card debt with nightclub or strip club receipts. Some get caught with, they call it, drugs and paraphernalia and ladies of the night or evening. And those are like legendary. I don't necessarily know those people directly, but, you hear these third-party stories, and it's pretty amazing and funny.
I was, my previous life was a surveillance technician. One time I go into a strip club, and we are setting up a system to log credit cards, IDs, with multiple cameras above, below. You get full detailed footage of everything going on. And I remember my manager at the time pulling me aside and saying that this system paid for itself in the first month. Apparently, at the strip clubs, not that I'm a giant fan or have been to many, but I guess they have stripper dollars where you can go to the machine and get credit, and then that credit then you can disperse to the young ladies working. And from there, what was happening was the gentleman would get home and get their credit card bills and dispute the charges. And they were constantly having to give back all their money for months and months. And so after we put in the system, these gentlemen were no longer able to deny the fact that they were there, as we now have footage of them, their credit card, their ID, what they were doing, who they walked up with, and the money being laid out on the table. So that was one way the system paid for itself.
Well, I gotta say, that was the concern, and it wasn't the fact that the guy's wife goes like, "Why do you have pictures of you at a strip club with that girl?" That wasn't the issue. It was denying the credit card.
It was the chargebacks. Yeah,
the chargebacks.
The chargebacks. Yeah, that's a huge problem.
Well, but I can't imagine like a secondary money issue coming out of this of bribery.
I think that wasn't the first concern. The first concern was getting caught, and so they could just say that my card was lost and somebody picked it up and went to the strip club. Or now there's definitely no claim against that.
How legit is that though? Right, being recorded. Yeah, how legit is that though? Being recorded and not having the, I don't know if it's a consent law or anything like that's associated with that. Because I know in California, there's a consent law with some of the things like closeness to a location or whatnot.
I think only recorded voice. Yeah, so video, if there's no expectation of privacy, I think anything goes. Recording voice, there are one party and there are two party consent states.
Correct. So At the time, I don't know if laws have changed since I've been out of that part of the industry for a long time, but in public, there's no issue there. The audio thing, a lot of times there would be some type of disclaimer when you would walk into a building that there might be auto recording, or if you were to walk into a room, there might be a small sign to kind of say that audio recording is a thing here. So that's one way that would kind of skirt around that. But yeah.
Like you don't put it in the bathrooms, you don't put it in the locker room, but if you put it in a public area like near an ATM or wherever you get these gentleman club dollars, I think there's no expectation of privacy there. What about you, Glenn? Any funny Vegas stories?
Yes, but I don't know if it's
podcast appropriate.
Podcast appropriate.
I'll preface that.
Yeah, lots of good things. I know fights internally with close friends trying to get a drunk person from some nightclub back to the room. That was quite an ordeal, dragging him through. At one point in time, there were, I'd like to say 6 of us, 3 on each side, carrying a friend down the hallway of his hotel just to get him in his room. And we were just done with him. The only good part that came out of that was he didn't throw up on us. So.
That is a plus.
But yeah.
That reminds me. So I do have another story, actually, and it involved bringing a drunk girl back to her room. And it was like she was a friend of the group. Like there were a couple of guys and there was a girl, and she had consumed too much, and we were helping her back to her room. And we got stopped by the bouncer. And it's like, hey, how come you're dragging this like half passed out girl out of here? And then she woke up. She's like, no, it's cool. He's my boyfriend. And she pointed to my buddy. So I'm like, oh, at least they check for things like that. That they didn't think that we drugged her and were trying to kidnap her.
Well, it would have been good if they just said, hey, okay, we'll follow you to the room. Make sure you get her in the room and, she's safe, right? So
Yeah, probably would have been the right move, which would have been fine because, her boyfriend was there and we were taking them back to the room safely. But, yeah, it's at least they look for things like that because they don't want to get into trouble.
Yeah. Or
do the right thing.
I gotta admit, Marcus, that's a really good story. That's awesome, right? I don't think I have anything to compare to that other than the stuff that I know I shouldn't be saying on the podcast. So
I have a lot of those stories. I'm trying to think of podcast-friendly ones.
Is there such a thing for a Vegas podcast-friendly story?
Yeah, maybe this wasn't a good topic. We can't tell any of the good ones.
You've heard the saying, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Yeah,
not always. Sometimes you take it
always.
Yeah. All right. Well, we continue to get great comments about our dad joke of the week.
Dad joke of the week.
This week, our guest Marcus is up.
What was funny about that was the one joke that I have wrote down. I'm fairly certain I've heard it on the podcast recently. So I'm going to say it, and I have a backup. And if you've heard it before, we're going to pretend like I didn't say it, and then we'll go on to backup.
All right.
No worries. I got a bad memory. Chris has got a good memory. He'll filter this one.
Chris will definitely know. So, do you know what 50 Cent did when he got hungry? 58.
Oh, that hasn't been on there. Yeah, wow,
no,
wow,
that's a new one.
That's a good one.
I'm pretty sure there was one similar.
There was a 50 Cent. Yeah, there was a 50 Cent one.
Joke. I think it was right after the Super Bowl. We might have told a 50 Cent joke.
Yeah. No, I think it had to do with his weight, right? He's no longer 50 cents. I think he's $1.50.
He's $1.50, yeah.
Yeah.
$2.50.
Yeah. $2.50.
$1.50. All right, to wrap things up, insider threats are serious, but security controls should exist to block them. No, Google's AI is not sentient. Education is better than shaming for phishing tests. CAPTCHAs may be gone for good if Apple has their way. And what happens in Vegas may not stay in Vegas. That's all I have for this week. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. You can find us all on LinkedIn. Links will be in the description. Follow us on Instagram at PEBCAK Podcast. Thank you to all our listeners and subscribers who rated us 5 stars in the iTunes Store and Spotify and left us a review. We appreciate you all spreading the word to help grow the show. The best way to find us is to search for the PEBCAK Podcast on your favorite podcast listening app. For my co-host Glenn Medina and our guest Marcus Andrews, I'm Chris Louie. Thanks for listening. We'll see you all next weekend. As always, have a nice day.
Have a good one, everyone. Thanks.
You too. Thanks for having me.